Hello, everyone, and welcome to the welcome video for Block Party number 177. And the within that, the start is near podcast episode 22. Today, among other things, we're going to have a specific focus on planning for the first real after party outside of our own after parties here on our own YouTube space, sorry, Zoom space. This will be an after party which we are planning to do with Professor Guy McPherson. And we're in conversation with Guy about mapping all this out. And in one of the PSs of this email below that's part of this video, we include the details of that we're drafting out for the Guy McPherson after party. The basic idea is this, that the Guy McPherson after party, to which all of Guy McPherson's audience of over 20,000 will be invited, as well as our audience and other audiences that we invite. But basically, the world is invited to participate in the first Guy McPherson after party, which hopefully will become the first of several. And the basic idea, again, is this, beyond the invite list, which is everyone, is that we put together a panel conversation about some fundamental questions that need to be grappled with and need to be answered by collective human intelligence, which in turn is aiming towards becoming CHISI, collective human superintelligence. But let's start with just straight CHI, C-H-I, collective human intelligence, before we add the super. And this will consist of the aforementioned audiences coming together and having a conversation, the seed crystal of which will be the panel conversation. The panel conversation is what we're about to summarize right now. And it goes like this. And it's focused on global warming and its solutions, but there's a specific series of questions that collective human intelligence needs to come together and answer in order for us to make meaningful progress on cooling the planet and therefore saving life on Earth. The first question is, what is the rate at which the planet system, the Earth atmosphere system, is accumulating heat as a function of time? Our best estimates are that every year, dozens of boops of heat, a boop is the total amount of energy consumed by humanity in 1 year, several dozen times that amount of heat are net accumulated within the planet system every year. We're overheating at an insane rate. So that's the first question. What is that rate of overheating in terms of, boops or zettajoules per year? And secondly, how does that translate into forecast temperature rise? Part of the reason that we don't see spikes in temperature yet are because a lot of that heat, most of it is absorbed by the oceans and melting of ice. But the oceans can only hold so much. In fact, the El Nino effect is when the oceans release a bunch of heat. But anyway, bottom line, how does our forecast heat accumulation as a function of time translate into temperature rise as a function of time? Having a clear picture of that will tell us exactly what the urgency is. Do we have until 2030, until 2050, until 2027? When do things really just rapidly collapse for us based on this exponential growth in the accumulated heat of the planetary system? Once we figure out that level of urgency and our time frame, then we can figure out the question of what should be our goal or our goals. Do we cap this overheating at a certain level? If so, what level? And do we then reverse the trend of overheating? Do we actually cool the planet? Is that part of our goal? That's as far as heat. What about temperature? Do we cap global average temperature at a certain level? And then do we seek to reduce that? Those are our big goals as regards global warming. The next questions are around, okay, how do we achieve those goals? With what tools? And there are four big sets of tools: SRM, carbon capture and sequestration, decarbonization of the economy, and going plant-based or vegan as a planet. For each of those categories of tools that I just mentioned, the four big categories, of which there are specific tools within each category, what is the maximum potential of heat reduction that we can achieve by applying each category as a whole? We believe, through the analysis that we've been a part of and have been exposed to, that SRM is going to have to be the lion's share tool in terms of heat reduction. The others are all important, but in terms of reducing the heat imbalance on the planet, eliminating the heat imbalance, and ultimately reversing the heat imbalance, going from net heating to net cooling, SRM is going to play the major role. That's what our understanding is. If we're mistaken, collective human intelligence, or CHISI, will figure that out. And then of that optimal portfolio of tools that we figure out, okay, how much of the implementation of each category of tools gets assigned to each sector of the economy and to each segment of the population? And then how do we incentivize those specific sectors and segments to play their specific roles? All that needs to be figured out as well. And then once we figured out all of that, then how do we sell that to the world? Right? No small task. None of these are small tasks. Perhaps the most straightforward is the analysis of the heat function. Temperature is going to be a much more sophisticated analysis based on the heat function. But anyway, that's the big goal here. And our operating hypothesis as to how to achieve this big set of goals, answer all these questions, and ultimately get all these specific tools implemented for cooling the planet. Our hypothesis is that collective human intelligence is the way to get there. And the starting point for all that is the Guy McPherson after party. So what we're aiming towards, what we're aiming for, is literally one of the most important inflection points in human history. And that'll be happening very soon here, if all goes well. And with that, I'm complete. Marco, anything to add? Any questions, comments, etc.?
No, I think quite simply, when we talk about collective human intelligence and collective superhuman intelligence, this is a point where anybody watching right now says, yeah, this sounds complicated and maybe even out of reach. You're wrong. This is it. The complexity will even out when you show up and have your input, because you are part of that collective intelligence. And no matter your education level, you have a part in this. You know, there's all levels of communication, and these functions, when spoken about in larger scientific terms, seem hard or more complex than they really are, because it's just a matter of too much heat makes a planet unlivable. And there are solutions, and the collective, in the collective human intelligence, collective superhuman intelligence, is all of us getting together in these conversations. It's that simple. So come, join, learn, teach. You know, we're open to being taught, as much as we don't claim to have any monopoly on intelligence here. We're just part of the intelligence, and so are you. So come join and let's bring ourselves together for the collective human superintelligence, or as we call it lovingly, CHISY in our abbreviation. And let's make this planet livable for all future generations.
Beautiful, Marco. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Mike Hillcoat describes it as a complex key to a complex lock. There's a lot of complexity here. If you scan below in the email to the appropriate PS, you can read more details of it. And yeah, that constitutes a complex key to a complex lock. Right now, one could argue that we are locked into and onto a runaway train that's rapidly approaching the end of Thelma and Louise, where we go over the edge of the cliff and there's no turning back. Can we stop the train before it reaches that point? I believe we can. That's why we're here. That's why we're working so hard at this. And that's why we came up with the Guy McPherson After Party concept. So please read on in the email. And most importantly, please join us, regardless of whether you do any further homework or not. Join us. We'll get you up to speed when we're talking on the Block Party and specifically the Start Is Near podcast. I'll probably be joining around 11 a.m. Pacific time. And Marco, I imagine, will be there much earlier than that. There won't be food healers for the next 3 weeks at the beginning of the Block Party, but it will resume after 3 weeks from now. And with that, I'm complete. Any final words, Marco?
Just look forward to seeing everybody Friday.
Amen. Look forward to seeing you all, and bring your friends. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.